Hey gang, Brad Bodnerchuk here, and today I am hopping on to discuss impactful leadership. Specifically, I want to give you 4 practical things that you can be doing and implementing right now into your day to day to ensure that you are giving yourself the absolute best chance that you are having an impact in a positive way on your organization, your team, your community, whatever it is that you're leading. And I'll get right into it. Number one, to ensure that you are an impactful leader is be humble. What does that mean? What that means is always be a white belt. And I love that saying or that line. I learned it from a good friend of mine, Zach Avanesh, years ago, and it stuck with me. And the way that Zach broke it down was always being a white belt meant whenever you entered into a room or into a scenario, or into an environment, you always entered it with the mindset of a white belt. Looking at martial arts, a white belt is the beginner level for all martial arts, at least all the martial arts that I know. And that really means that you have everything to learn. You come in there fresh, knowing nothing. Being humble as a leader and acting like you are a white belt is going to allow for you to hear other people, see other people, and be open to other ideas. Now, ultimately, at the end of the day, if you are in a leadership role, the decision ultimately comes down to you. But when you walk around as a white belt or you walk around being humble, you open yourself up to being, at the very least, influenced by others around you. And the reality is, when we come together, whether it's in relationships, professional or intimate, in business scenarios, and like I said, in organizations and communities, on teams, we are bringing with us all of our past and our different experiences. And it would be very ignorant of us to think, and myself as well, that I can't learn something from every single person that I come across. And I believe that when Zach Avanesh shared that years ago, when he said always be a white belt, that's exactly what he meant. When you walk into a seminar that you feel as though you already get the philosophy, you understand it, you implement it, walk in there with a mindset of I don't know anything. Be open to learning. And when we are humble and open, we are more than likely going to actually walk away with more practical, tangible, new information. If we aren't humble, if we aren't a white belt, if we walk around like we're a black belt, if you will, meaning the highest level, how can we learn anything else? Are we even open to learning anything else? And I really fundamentally believe that in 2022, as we head into 2023, it is incredibly detrimental for us to not embody being a white belt or being humble, because we are closing ourselves down from the information that exists outside of us. And because of the world we live in today, because information is so accessible and it is so vast, it's just not possible for us to know everything. While I'm sure you're a great leader, while I'm confident that I am as well in the work that I do, I pride myself in saying things like, is that so? Or I didn't know. Oh. And just using those words allows for me mentally to remain open to what is out there. And that brings me to succinctly the second thing that you can do to ensure that you are an impactful world-class leader is be curious. Really, this one piggybacks off of being a white belt, but even more so. And being curious for me evokes an action. It's not just a word, it's actually doing it. It is asking questions. It's not entering a room and just having the mindset, if you will, of a white belt, or not just being humble. When you are curious, you are asking questions. When you are curious, you're leaning in. Your body language is different. And you are, like I just mentioned, you are saying things like, oh, is that so? Or, oh, I don't actually know. And I catch myself at times, hands in the air, that in meetings with clients, I will find myself often answering their questions right away, almost because I want to establish myself as someone who they see value in or they're coming to get answers from. And ultimately, as a consultant or a coach to my clients, that is what I'm paid to do. However, it also allows for me to take a step back and realize that maybe I'm actually holding them back. If I can be more curious, perhaps I can help them find their own way to the answer. And if I'm curious, perhaps I will actually learn something new that I can then carry on and use in my own arsenal with my other clients. If we aren't curious, it's going to show up in a way of the opposite, like I said, of being humble. So when we're curious, we ask questions. When we're curious, our body language changes. When we're curious, we take time to listen to other people. If you can do those first two things, you are well on your way to having a massive amount of impact as a leader. I'll also say quickly, those first two pieces, if you embody those things, you are going to allow for the people around you, your team or your direct reports, to feel incredibly involved in the process, feel seen and feel heard. And what does that do? Ultimately, what does that do? That's going to feed your culture. That's also going to allow for them to feel like their job is important, feel like their role matters, feel like they actually have a say. And again, ultimately, as the leader, you are the one that makes the final decision. But when you walk around humble and when you stay curious, you are not only going to allow for yourself to download information at an incredible rate, but you are also going to allow the others around you to feel like their opinion matters. And when they feel like their opinion matters, they're more likely to stick around. They're more likely to put in the work, and they're more likely to have a sense of pride. And we cannot undermine that in 2022, heading into 2023, when culture is so important. The third thing that you can be doing to ensure that you are an impactful leader as we head into this new year is work on you. I was at a coffee shop today and I was watching this husband and wife team that own this place, and having spent 20 years in hospitality, I know how demanding it can be. But I was looking at them and they just looked exhausted. Now I'm recording this just close to the holidays, so obviously they've been really busy and the coffee shop is phenomenal. They're doing a great job. But what came to me right then was, man, these two need some sort of self-love or some sort of self-care program to ensure that they can have the impact that they need to have and ideally want to have on their business. So as we come into a new year and you really want to have more impact on your team and more impact as a leader, I encourage you to look at what can you be doing to work on you. And what comes to mind right away for me is health and wellness. So what is your fitness routine? What is your health like? When are you waking up in the morning and when are you going to bed at night? What does that look like? What is your nutrition like? Working on that. Also looking at, can you spend more time educating yourself, reading books, going to seminars, obviously when you're at those seminars, remaining curious and remaining humble. Also working on things like your spiritual side as well, taking time, to meditate. All of these things, whether it's fitness, nutrition, the spiritual game, or even the education piece, and the list goes on and on. There are numerous things that we can be doing as individuals to better ourselves and to work on us. And as a leader, it is even more important, in my opinion, to do that. It's so easy to get caught up in the minutia of day in and day out and arguing with yourself that you don't have time to do those things. However, it is an investment that will pay dividends almost immediately, just with how you feel and then how you show up for yourself and for your team, but also in the long run as well, from an energy standpoint, from an outlook standpoint, optimism, all of those things. You cannot go wrong if you are looking to be more impactful, to invest in yourself and work on you. Number 4, the fourth thing you can be doing to have a massive impact on your business or your organization as we move into a new year is be mindful of the way that you respond to things. I ultimately think this last one trumps everything else. And admittedly, I was doing research on this very topic. I want to come up with titles for my podcast and my YouTube videos that are catchy and people want to click on, and it's the five tips for this, or it's the 4 most influential this. And I get it, I get that, and I'm participating in it myself. However, this 4th one really for me just trumps everything else. If we place a massive amount of importance, pardon me, on how we react to everything that's happening around us, that makes everything else obsolete. And what do I mean by this? What I mean by this is, number one, not thinking like and not acting like a victim day in and day out in your personal life or in your business. And when things are happening to us or for us, if you will, being extremely mindful of how we react. Viktor Frankl, in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, talks about this idea of a stimulus and then a response. And in between the two is a choice. And I think if we want to have a massive amount of positive impact on our communities, on our organizations, and our teams, we have to get world class at that. Understanding that gap that exists between the stimulus and the response, and then making the choice consciously of how we want to show up. When we do that, I would argue 9 times out of 10, 9.99999 times out of 10, you are going to act in a way that supports your vision. You are going to act in a way that supports who and how you want to show up as a leader. That's going to impact the overall outcome of how successful you are or how many challenges you have in your business or in your life. So the 4th thing that we can be doing as leaders to ensure that we're having a positive impact is becoming absolutely world-class at understanding that gap that exists between the stimulus and the response and making the choice that is going to benefit us and our team the most. Will we always get it right? Absolutely not. But I want for us, at the very least, to be mindful of it and give us the best chance at being successful and making the right choice. Does the right choice in that moment mean that it's going to be the ideal outcome? Obviously not. There are so many different other variables that are going to come into play. However, what I want us to do as impactful leaders is become more conscious and less unconscious in the times that deserve it and the times that really require it. So when you are going through your day-to-day and there is a stimulus, I encourage you, take a breath, make sure you are conscious of the choice you are making. Do that and you will be an incredibly impactful leader. So let's quickly review what you can do, and myself as well, to ensure that we are impactful leaders as we move forward. Number 1 is be humble. Always be a white belt. Number 2 is stay curious. Ask questions. Lean in with your body language. Show up in a curious way. It's not just a word. It is actually an action. Being curious is a call to action. Number 3 is working on you, whether it's your fitness, your nutrition, your mindset, your spirituality, your education. Any of those things will do, and all of them would be even more incredible if we double down on all of them. But working on you and investing in you is going to allow for you to show up better in your life and in your business and have a greater impact. I guarantee it. And the last one, to me, the one that bears the most weight, is being mindful of how we respond. Going from unconscious to conscious when it's required of us will allow for us to be incredibly impactful to those around us, our teams, our organizations, and ultimately impacting us and our long-term visions that we have as well for ourselves. That's it. If you enjoyed this, it would mean the world to me if you would share it with someone else who you think would also enjoy it. You guys know what to do until next time. My name is Brad. Thank you for being here. Be good and do good. Peace.